Hi world, it's about 8 p.m. It's Thursday, the 18th of February 2016, and this is my take on the astrological 11th house relating to the 11th sign of Aquarius. Remember, planets in signs show how energy manifests in you. Planets in houses show how that energy manifests in and through the eyes of the outside world. It's not the way you are, it's the way you're seen as being. 11th house, group, community, friend, social life. It's the way you interact with others. It's similar to the 3rd and 7th house, but whereas the 3rd house, the Gemini house, is all about communication, and the 7th, Libra house, is all about the way you communicate with other, the 11th house is about how you communicate with others. The 11th house is known colloquially as the house of friends and friendships, as well as community. And that community can be the immediate collective community, for example, family, workplace, immediate social life. It can be, and generally is, the larger social community, the people you go down the pub with, the people you meet every weekend, your collective friends, your address book. But it can also be the larger community, the global community. And here you do see a link with the sign of Aquarius, the sign of humanity. Planets in the 11th house generally show a willingness to go the extra mile for the benefit of others, because these are the people who know that by benefiting other people, by working for the benefit of a greater community, the individual themselves will benefit much more than if they focus purely on themselves. There is certainly nothing selfish about the 11th house individual. But it depends to an extent, as with everything, as to the aspects to the planets in the 11th house. If it's just a lot of planets, full stop, in the 11th house, of a mixed aspect, then the individual is going to be someone who will have an active social life, who will not be a stay-at-home and a shy and retiring person, but who instead know a lot of different people from a number of different social circles, and they will be comfortable about engaging in many different types of interaction. If there's a lot of positive aspects to planets in the 11th house, then the individual is going to recognise that actually community, or even better, tribe, is as close, if not closer, than family. It should be that family is unconditional in terms of support, but actually it's not often like that, unfortunately. Instead, people with a lot of 11th house will often relate to their close community and their friendship as being as close, if not closer, than family, because the support from community is often much more unconditional than that comes from family. And people with a lot of positive aspects to the 11th house planets do relate to this idea of tribe and community, whether it be localised or global. But people with a lot of challenging aspects to the 11th house will find that either they become more antisocial as they get older and become much more selective, going for quality of community rather than quantity, and often a lot of people with challenging aspects to the 11th house, often their address book gets thinner and thinner as they get old, because they haven't got the time or energy to put into maintaining what to them are just superficial relationships. They want quality and depth, not quantity and superficialness. If you've got a nice Uranus in the 11th house, I often say to these people, well, none of your friends are normal. They're all different, but that's because it's a difference for the tracks. The 11th house is related to Aquarius, which is very Uranian. So it's always going to be that the more eccentric, idiosyncratic, unusual, stimulating and futuristic people will appeal much more. If there's a lot of retrogrades in the 11th house, there can be a shyness about projecting oneself, and it's much easier for these people to be the faceless person at the back of the crowd, just sort of blending with the larger community rather than expressing their own individuality. If you've got Mars, however, or Saturn, or the Sun in the 11th house, well, maybe not the Sun, but certainly Mars or Saturn, you're going to find your capacity for taking spontaneous action, especially for the benefit of others, is always going to be a strong thing. A difficult Moon, though, or a difficult Venus in the 11th house will come across as very social and gregarious, but also very impersonal and very difficult about expressing emotion or feeling, because the 11th house is essentially an air house, whereas the Moon and Venus are quite emotional in their speech. The 11th house is the area of group, friend and community. It is one's social life and the way one projects oneself into and onto the external social community. If you've got a lot of planets in the 11th house, don't forget to stand your round in the pub and look after your friends, because as they get older, they become the people who are really close to you. There you go, folks. There's my take on the 11th house. Bye now.